All right, hey everyone. So I'm gonna try and get into the habit of doing little updates, maybe once a week or whatever. I don't know. I can't really promise anything because I usually get so busy with work that I don't have a tendency to be able to do any actual updates as far as everything is going on. I've been very focused on the Darknet stuff for a while now. However, I have some really interesting stuff that's going to be happening in the Globe and VR chat on the 21st. However, with that said, there were a list of things that I wanted to fix after the first Darknet event, which didn't work out very well, that I was expecting I wouldn't be able to have fixed until late January. And actually, I already have some stuff to test out right now, including functional audio link rendering in both eyes with these light effects. Um, I tossed Dom Nom Nom some money, and they just went ahead and made this open source. So we have the ability to take one-eyed shaders, and anyone can grab the application and make it so that it renders in both eyes on VR, which is really really useful because I have a lot of shaders that would be nice to continue using in the future. With that said, I probably will also have like additional I will have additional audio link stuff in the near future as well, because I'm probably gonna have a conversation with Tech and On about that, because I think Tech has a bunch of cool shaders to work with as well. So I guess a lot of people are probably wondering, it's like, okay, you've been really focusing on the Darknet stuff and everything like that. I should probably talk a little bit about kind of what my general ideas are for 2025. For one, I know I'm really focused on the Darknet stuff right now. Don't worry, the VR chat stuff is just as important. I'm not leaving VR chat. I'm not even beginning to set that up. The VRU Darknet is merely the dark world of the light world. So the VR chat version is the light world. The Darknet version is like the dark world version of it. So the city is going to be a lot more detailed and a lot more compact, and all the places on the outside are going to be a lot more close together. And um, the way it'll flow is just more like an MMO, but it's not an MMO meant to hold like tens of thousands of players or hundreds of thousands of players. It's meant to hold hundreds at the most, right? So that's the idea, is that this is not supposed to be some kind of a competitor with VR chat. It's meant to be a specific, interesting thing that is being done um, just to do it, where we could have really great events. It could just be a general hangout. We can just use for whatever we want. Like, we can do events here. We could probably even have like different forms of entertainment, and not only that, but it's entirely possible too. We might have like um, a full blown like game or something like that as well. But that's all getting really far ahead of myself right now. The plan is to maybe consider the idea of doing a Friday night pop up, because I don't want to drown out the promotion for the Globe event on the 21st, which is going to be like a big Christmas theme thing. It's going to be really fun. Um, I got all the DJs lined up. I got everybody all sorted and everybody set up at the moment, and that's going to be like a pretty heavily modified version of the Globe, which will have snow and snowflakes and all kinds of interesting and cool stuff. It'll be really, really fun, and I don't want to drown out the promotion for that event by bringing out like another heavy promotion for another VRU Darknet thing. So if you're interested in the Darknet stuff, keep your eyes open for a Friday night pop-up. I will post some kind of a flyer or something like that a day or two in advance. Um, with the changes that I've made, so there were three major, like really big issues that came up during the Darknet event issue. First of all, though, obviously there was the problem where we had to cancel the event early because I wasn't aware of how long it takes Steam to actually make sure everybody's up to date with the latest version. So when I updated the game with a new IP address pointing to a better, something that's a little bit more flexible for whatever reason, right? For all kinds of infrastructure reasons, from Midnight Waffle, I I didn't realize that there would be people who are just simply unable to join the lobby. Period. There was another issue too, where the app data was getting corrupted because it was messing with the app data from Basis. Basis and the VRU Darknet are two different things. Basis is a framework that's being developed that I am going to probably help developing it, and um, by extension. So like everything that I do in the VRU Darknet is probably going to be like a cautionary tale for whatever it is that Dooley wants to do, and be like, oh, does this work? Does this not work? Like, does what are all these things that can that I'm going to be doing? Because I'm going to go full on with all of this stuff in the Darknet, like um you want to see a piece of the metaverse that's being done without any creative barriers whatsoever. Here it is. So this will be a really fun ride, and I'm thinking about all kinds of interesting ways that I'm going to be planning this out. It's like instead of starting directly in the club when you start the game, you'll actually start in the open world, and then there will be like a city with like really tight city streets. I could probably show like a concept art or something like that, but think like some really heavily densely like Hong Kong or Tokyo, but it's done in such a way where it feels like some futuristic place in like Manhattan or something like that. Like, well, I want to get that vibe, and I want to have the streets be a lot closer together and a little bit more windy in terms of like being like an open hallway. Whereas if you look at the current Oasis and VR chat, it's very open. The streets are very wide. It's a very large and open place. Whereas what I'm thinking about doing with the Darknet is going to be different. It's going to be more like tight corridors and alleyways and places that are just sort of like more just in general, just like more detail everywhere and higher production value, because I will be commissioning artists and stuff like that, and trying to kind of maybe even up my own game in terms of environment art development and everything like that, and also using like full SH lighting and all of the dynamic light stuff that we can do now with Unity 6. Unity 6 is a beast. It is quite good. So the idea right now is that I go over the main things that needed to be fixed, and then I'm going to explain. Then I'm going to explain that I actually think I already fixed all of them, and I'll explain what each step of it was, and also something that I kind of feel a little bit like ranting a bit about for a second. For um, one of the issues that was occurring that needed to be fixed, like really, really badly, was the video player, the thing in the options menu. Uh, you'd go to it and the video player wouldn't adjust. And the video player was blaringly loud. We don't know why. And I now know why. In order to gather audio link, which is here, there's an audio output. I didn't realize that this audio output, just because I have to be able to grab the spectrum data from the video player, but you see how it has a volume of 0.001? Well, what was going on was this thing was being bumped up to 0.5. So it was blaringly loud, and there's nothing you could do about it. And there was two of them. There was two sound sources. There was a sound source here for the actual AV Pro video player, but in addition to that, there's another sound source that nothing is controlling, that's just sitting there at full fucking volume at all times. I like that. So that's why it wasn't working. That's why the controls weren't working on the options menu. When it comes to like stupid shit like this, I'm really deeply sorry. Like, I know it's like it is going to be a lot of stumbling when I'm trying to do this. First of all, this is kind of really new territory. I have no idea what it's going to be like, working on my own indie game that is being developed with the idea of possibly, like, who knows where this is going to go. But it's definitely not going to be something that's another VR chat. It's going to be something else, which I think in a lot of ways that should make it more interesting to most people, because whenever somebody tries to make a VR chat killer, what do? They fail miserably, or they just simply barely succeed at all. And that's all because of heavily long development cycles and all kinds of weird stuff and everything like that. So, I added, while I was at it, I added a video slider, a video volume slider here, at the entrance. But there's also one, yeah, there's like three of them, and when you adjust one, it adjusts all of them at the same time. And then there's a resync video. So what this will do is will give us some stuff, some ways that we can actually like manage the video volume. I ended up doing this solution before I found out about the audio link thing, which is a whole other problem in and of itself, which was really just super annoying, like super bad. Now, the other problem too was that the volume would get louder as you got closer. But what I'm going to be doing, it's still roughly the same effect, but it was so dramatically louder. Like over here would be like you don't hear any sound at all, and then you get over there, and now it's just like two massive sound volumes just pumping in, and like you can't even hear anybody talking or anything like that. Which also kind of brings segues into player voices. Now this is a problem that I noticed that Chill Out VR had for a really long time, and I'm not really 100% sure if I solved it, but I can definitely take a look at it. So the player audio source, what you're looking at right now is the fixed version, but if I pull these up, I can show you how it was before, right? And then I can show you how others probably have theirs set up. And I think this is incorrect. First of all, max distance on voice is 20 meters. How often do you talk to somebody who's 12 fucking meters away? Never. In the VRU Oasis, it's always been 12 meters max distance for voices. And in the VRU Oasis, there's an extra algorithm which also makes it so that people's voices will get lower or more quickly fall off based on height difference. So if somebody's above you, their voice falls off very quickly, and if somebody's below you, their voice falls off very quickly. What does that do? That makes it so that people's voices don't bleed through walls, floors, and ceilings. Well, it bleeds through walls, but it won't bleed through the walls, floors, and ceilings. The beautiful thing about VRU Darknet, built on top of Basis, is that we have full-blown Steam audio for voice, which is really awesome, because full-blown Steam audio for voice makes it so that we can actually make it our voices properly bounce and echo in all of the different types of environments that the player is going to be in for all of this kind of stuff. And to me, that's fucking phenomenal. I love it. Steam audio is fantastic. But one of the problems that we were running into is that players. So there's two problems here with this situation, and it's a two-pronged thing that needs to get solved. One, I'm not really sure about the mechanics of the first problem, but I think in VR chat there's some kind of normalization that goes on, so that people's volumes on their mics are not so drastically different from each other. Either they're doing this intentionally or unintentionally, but for one thing, it's very butter in VR chat when it comes to voices. You know, if somebody talks to you, 9 times out of 10, you know for a fact that they can hear you, and that when they talk back, you'll be able to hear them, even if there's noise going on in the background and everything that's going on. Now, Steam audio might not be really quite set up for that level of comfort, but I think that it's extremely important. I did kind of note that sometimes it feels a little bit odd when everybody's voices are realistically echoing in the places that we're at, because it makes it feel a little bit like now I'm having a conversation with people with this like extra filter on their voices so that they're like echoing and stuff. I think that's just something you got to get used to or whatever. It's part of it, I guess, immersion. But there's realism versus gameplay, right? And that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind when we really get into this is that we don't necessarily want to veer into, to realism if it counteracts comfort, right? So what we have here right now is this is 20 meters, and it has a fall off that is very smooth. So it's a logarithmic, I believe, right? Now, this isn't too bad, but one of the major problems that we've been having, which is also true for Chill Out VR, and this is a problem that Chill Out VR I think had for like a long time, if it still has it right now. I can almost guarantee you it still does. Where the person that you're standing next to is sitting up here on the curve, but the person that's like 10 meters away is not that different, right? Like now, somebody who's 15 meters away with a really loud microphone is not falling off drastically enough. It's just, this is 10 meters. They're far away. If their microphone is loud by default, what's going to happen is their voice is not going to be that much different from somebody with a lower volume and all the way up here. You see the percentage difference is very different. It's very, it's just 20 meters. This is insane. 10 meters in game, you feel that difference when you're looking at somebody. You don't want to have a conversation with somebody who's 10 meters away. However, somebody with a really loud microphone is only sitting at about, they're sitting at about 15 and or 10 meters or so to 15 meters. They're all the way across the room with their loud ass microphone, and they're going to get louder and louder, it feels, than the people who you're trying to talk to who might have like lower microphone or whatever, right? Now, it appears that in the Basis ecosystem, it does matter how you have your microphone set up in the Windows settings, if you can make your voice louder. But one of the problems that we're having to deal with right now is the fact that we don't have a normalization method, which I'm not 100% sure if that method is exactly what we need. If it exists, there must be something there on that on that stack of logic that takes us to the really smooth voices that are beautiful in VR chat, right? Well, this is an important aspect of it as well, because I don't think that player voice volumes should be falling off this slowly, and I don't think it should go this far. I've gotten so used to not being able to hear people's voices past 12 meters that it's second nature for me now. But having somebody who's 20 meters away with a loud microphone sounding louder than the person who's right next to you is fucking infuriating to me. I think it's infuriating to most people. I honestly, I really think that problem was one of the major problems that made me stop playing Chill Out VR, is because they refused to fix this forever, right? And I'm now sitting here looking at the precipice. I'm staring into the abyss of the same fucking issue. And to me, right now, I feel that going this route, so you have 12 meters, right? And it falls off very quickly near the 12. So that means that somebody who's 8 meters with a loud microphone can still be a little bit too loud, but if you move even just 2 or 3 or 4 meters away, boom, motherfucker's sitting all the way down here. All right? And then the person who's next to you, or the 5 or 6 people that are next to you within the 5 meter radius, all basically have full volume, but the guy who's further away is no longer blaring at you from the other side of the fucking room. This has been really aggravating aspect. I hope that this at least alleviates the problem. However, there may be more to this equation than I'm aware because I'm kind of well. This is the first time I'm having to actually do this kind of balancing myself. I haven't really had a chance to ever experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of being the crappy developer that handles a social VR platform. Yes, that is it. Look at me. Look at me. I'm the crappy developer now. Um, so I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna try my hardest to make sure that this kind of stuff gets solved, so that it's just, I don't want to have these wacky experiences where there's a person 15 meters away just talking to me like they're standing next to me. I hate it. I hate it. Get falled off, bitch. So, with that said, that was a major issue that I felt was really a problem. Like, there were multiple times where, like, somebody who's standing all the way over on the dance floor, their voice would be louder than the person who was, like, standing next to me all in the entering hallway, right? Well, with a 12-meter max distance and this kind of a fall off, I think that's going to mostly alleviate the problem. And if this does, then, well, maybe this is advice for the Chill Out VR devs if they haven't already figured this out for themselves. Maybe this is, you know, here you go, change it. But whatever. If I can just do whatever the hell I want, I don't really care what anybody else does, right? So that was one of the other, one of the main things too. So if I zoom back out of this, one of the other problems is that people who have Steam um, PlaySpace Mover, whatever, they tend to spawn in a radius. They they tend to spawn far away from the actual spawn point. What was happening was people were spawning here in the elevator, but they would actually spawn outside of the elevator and fall. So I increased the size of this room. But ultimately what's going to end up happening is this elevator is probably not going to be here. And this is going to be a staircase that goes up and then curves, and then there's going to be one of those really super detailed city street alleyway type things going on with dumpsters and ladders and, like tall buildings with windows and stuff like that. Still going to do the day-night cycle. I think that both versions of the Oasis are going to end up inside of a biosphere style globe setup, which is really cool to see. And it's just going to be designed in a more tight manner, something that's a little bit more akin to what you would probably see in a AAA style experience, rather than trying to just like make this big open place and all these other buildings and stuff like that, where I'm going to try and make everything as compact as possible. Now there's also a reason for that. There's another reason for that. The reason is because the VRU Darknet flows differently than VRChat. It flows differently than any other social VR game, in that every single place is a persistent server that's always up. With like, so when you're outside in the city streets and you're walking between clubs, because you can actually go bar hopping theoretically, you'll be switching servers and and loading asset bundles while talking to people in the city streets themselves. So rather than going like world hopping per se, or bar hopping, whatever, what'll happen is I want to see players like gather up in front of a doorway. Maybe there's a bouncer outside of the building, and then you see a loading thing on the door, and then whether or not they can actually enter that location appears once information is gathered or whatever. And you find out that you can actually go into the club and hang out there for a little while, and maybe there's another event going on. So it ends up kind of becoming this sort of like, if you're at that place, you're at that place. There's no other lobbies of that place. Now that doesn't mean that we can't do multi-lobbying. the asset bundles for the world and the server that you're on are independent of each other based in the basis ecosystem, which means that I can switch servers at any time while not modifying the world at all. Whereas with VRChat, the world is absolutely connected to the server. Um, so when you join a lobby per se, you're essentially loading a world. Whereas with this, I could have a button on the wall that has like 5 different lobbies right here, and you can choose which one you want to go to. And when you click it, everybody around you disappears, and then all the people who are in that other lobby appear around you. So that gives us a fucking lot of flexibility in terms of being able to like not only multi-lobby, but also make it so that when I walk down a hallway or if I go to a place, I might switch to a different server. That means that every area could have its own player population, so to speak. And that's actually like a really big aspect of that. But am I planning to do all of this in such a short time or anything like that? I actually think that what I want to do is get really serious into the nitty gritty of this after running events for just a little while and kind of feeling things out and getting an idea of exactly what works and what doesn't and how well all of this stuff can function. So with that said, that means that I'm gonna need a little bit of like ramp up time, just kind of getting used to the idea of doing things this way, and um, working within this ecosystem, um, to be able to go, okay, now I'm ready. I'm ready now to grab all the tech that I need, set everything up, and build the open world first, and then make it so that whenever you go to events in here, like you actually have to walk up to the front door of the club that then loads the world, and then you go in. That also makes it a little bit better in terms of being able to do things like I can have an external link that determines whether or not that location is available. I can do an external link that gives you a URL for the asset bundle, and I can store all of that stuff on my own server. Uh, it gives me a lot of ability to like kind of handle and corral players in very specific ways. The Oasis can be fully realized in its actual vision within this platform. It cannot be in VRChat and probably never will be the vision that I have had for all these years um, in VRChat. VRChat will never be able to update to do what I want to do. So it's just an impossibility. And you might be saying like, well, why don't you just play VRChat instead? And, I get it. I get it. There are arguments that oh, that's where all the players are and everything like that. Yes. However, I can't do what I want to do, and I want to do what I want to do. Damn it! So there's no two ways about it. I want to offer something that's different, and that's that. All right. Not to say that I'm not, I'm against at all like copying as many features and cool things that I can along the way from, the things that we know that work really well in the VRChat ecosystem. I'm I'm instead just gonna sort of segue right into the features that I find the most important for me to be able to do the kinds of things that I want to do, and make that part of the entire thing, and then make an example of it so that we can other people can be interested, because the VRU Darknet does not have to be limited to just my community. It doesn't have to be just the castle or the globe or whatever club I have. Other people will be able to utilize this space as well, and they can even upload their own asset bundle and then give me the link to that asset bundle, and in which case I can update the game. I can update that area and everything like that. But this is not meant to be a giant huge machine. It's meant more or less to be a bite-sized but really specific and focused chunk for a very specific focused experience. And I think there's a lot of room for that, and I think a lot of people will probably agree. Hey, let's try this too, because we got this other thing over here, and VR chat will always be a thing that I always want to have. But How about something different every once in a while? Like, how about something new? You never know, you might like it, and that's the idea. So, um, I solved the voice thing. I solved the video volume thing, and in the process, I also managed to get Audio Link working. So, here, if I show you right now, I think we're good. This is a 30-minute video. Sorry for taking so long with all these blogs. You know, I can rant for a long time. Um, so we have the music volume going and everything like that, right? Then we have I appreciate that Waterwolf has a stream up so that I can do my testing and everything like that. But eventually there'll have to be a VRU channel that sort of does the same thing. That's always broadcasting, which honestly is pretty neat, right? Um, if you notice, so there are a couple of lights that I've been testing. That's Audio Link. We have Audio Link, and because of the thing that Dom Nom Nom uh, made open source so that anyone can utilize it, and I linked it in the Basis Discord, we can make it so that this properly renders in both eyes, but I haven't tested that yet. So that brings me to one very important thing. I'm thinking of doing a pop-up on Friday. I'm interested. If you're interested, what I'll do is I'll make an announcement in a couple of days and say Darknet pop-up event. This time I'll only have one DJ, and we can try and do a Friday night one more time and have it just be like a 2 hour thing. So we can all go back to VR chat when we have our new experience and call it a day. So with that said, I think that's the vast majority of the vlogging that I need to do at the moment. I apologize if this went a little bit long, but yeah, there's just so much to talk about. There's so much to do, and there's so many things like with this, so many possibilities with doing something like this and everything like that. So the next video is likely going to be more focused on the next Globe event, and I hope everybody has a good time, and I'll see you in the next one.